Have you ever had the experience of walking down the street, minding your own business, and a stranger sneak attacks you and asks,
"Howdy!"
Never dreamed that it could be like this. A canary in choir that cracks the earth to sing.
I was fooling myself.
Confess that the day he died.
Torched lives, extinguished.
Naturally head bopping, mind marveling.
Right in the sweet spot in a kite of jagged teeth.
The snap of ropes and cackling, little girls playing double dutch.
Very last Cabbage Patch doll in the store.
You look like a veggie tail.
You look like Home Alone since ever. Everybody from B, Rebel section at B. Skirt.
This is the roast him.
Are y'all just gonna look at me? This is a project that not only can be an exciting experience for people in a musical sense, but it makes people understand that we care about what goes on with people's lives. That I want to illustrate it in a way that demands not just attention, but prestige. If you think of the European tradition, if you have a symphony, that's the highest level of performing.
Bam! Look at that! 101 and 38 seconds! Yes, this is CCTV, Cambridge Community Television, and I am your host, Brother R.A., the brother with something to say each and every day. Anyway, and yes, you can hit the newspaper and the archives, and here, I think I'm going to experiment with you this week and, excuse me, go ahead and hit, let's see, YouTube. We'll hit YouTube and see what happens. So it opened up a new tab and talk about, we're talking about project is a folder with a page. Yeah, okay, that was a show from September 29th, 2016. And these are shows, is 21, 28. So this is where we're continuing perform in the early part of last week's show. This is Steve Coakley. Get in there. He talked about...
In absence of any black analysis of wealth is not even a question. I got to tape up that wealth domination of Rockefellers to deal on the question of wealth as a measurement of power, which may have something...
This was put out June 21st.
How can we be an African thing and not have no perpetrator? You know, many people out there really...
Okay, so that was then, and as you can see on my YouTube page, I listen to R&B music. See, I like that. And so I get my Marvin Gaye, and I put up my own Steve Coakley. And all of that is on brotherra.com. This is this site here, and all I did was hit YouTube. Okay? And you can go to my Facebook page, which I'll just bring it over. And this is something, growing up, this was hot dog buns and hamburger buns and sandwich bread. And I had to make the comment, this is good, made me smile and laugh. Although today, I don't eat white flour or breads. But it is the truth. Yup. That's the kind of stuff, eating white breads. No one told Brother R.A. what was good for him to eat and not eat. Uh-oh, go ahead, Jasmine. Got something on my page. Let's see, can I get back to where is the main part of Brother R.A.'s page? Okay, there we go. And, let's see. the Facebook page. As you can see, Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, Danny, and R.A. right there at the top of the page. And this is something I posted from Matrix Terminator, The Third Eye. R.A. talks with Mom, a mother of Matrix, the Oracle, Sophia Stewart, live. That was on the Jewel Network. And so those are my two most recent postings on my Facebook page. Say no to skin bleaching. Oh, should I post? Oh, that's... Ha! There goes, how did I get down there that far? Okay. Brother R.A. is both on cctvcambridge.org and brotherra.com, 1 p.m. every Wednesday. That means like right now, I'm on. I should post it, huh? Post it for this week, for this moment right now. That was back a few weeks when I did post that. And 6 common misconceptions about enslavement of African people. The Atlanta Star. Slavery is slavery, I wrote. Now, can you see yourself as divine energy, above and beyond such simplistic, calcified pineal gland thinking? You have liquid in your pineal gland, your first eye. You have the ability to tap into more frequencies, have more rhythm. But I see very few of us, melanin dominant people, tapping into our great divinity. We hold ourselves back by not going deep enough into ourselves. Can you gather that thought? Especially after observing the 4th of July, Independence Day. And who is independent? And we're going to sit around and listen to fireworks that represent war, the sounds of killing black ass, getting shot and killed at? Yes, I'm a dumb black, and I uphold everything the melanin recessive inbred mutant albino stands for. 'Cause I haven't recovered from 400 years of psychological mind fucking. We'll just pass on our stupidity and ignorance to the coming generations. Do many people even fathom these particular thoughts? So, there's a young man, that's my nephew, my sister's son, Emmanuel. And, there's a sister talking stuff on my page. Mercury, autism caused by mercury and vaccines? Just sharing some of the stuff that's on my Facebook page. Just inspiring or causing individuals to think. I was looking, there should be another picture of his face with him being 16. Where is that picture at? Oh, this is a good picture. So, the melanin recessive gene of both parents connected and have a white child. Not unusual. African family gives birth to a baby with blonde hair and blue eyes. Does that make sense? Do y'all gather that thought? That these two black people were related in some form, in some fashion, and they had 2 normal children, but they had 1 albino child. Just sharing thoughts. And, here, let me just procrastinate a little bit more and see what the hell this is talking about.
Back to the late 19th. The most remarkable thing about the last election was actually Bernie Sanders, not Trump. Bernie Sanders broke with a century of American political history. In American elections back to the late 19th century, elections are basically bought, literally. You can predict with remarkable accuracy electability simply on the basis of campaign funding. Sanders came along, no support from the corporate sector, no support from the wealthy. The media simply dismissed him as ridiculous. He was basically unknown. He even used a scare word, socialist. And he would have won the Democratic nomination if it hadn't been for the shenanigans of the party managers. If you take a look at popularity today, he is far and away the most popular figure in the American political system.
Okay, so I shared that with you.
Don't forget to tune in to On Contact this Saturday for part 2 of Chris Hedges'
Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can get to Steve Coakley. Is that downloaded? Do I have that? And this is which particular week? I want to show 7/5. I want to make sure 7/5/17 is downloaded. If it's not downloaded, here, let me reload this particular page. And okay, so 7/5 is there. The early part of last week's show. All right. See, this show here, I just downloaded that. Otherwise, what I'm doing now would have recorded over it. So there's the whole series of Steve Coakley being there. But okay, y'all don't need to know all that. Here, let me cut you to me. Here, hi, I'm here. And now we're just gonna go ahead into where we left off with Steve from last week, and pick up that conversation.
These papers, as you go back to the history, you will find that their families interrelated. Anyway, they ran an announcement that I would be here to speak. They just left my name off. A speaker from Washington, D.C. will be here to lecture on secret societies. And when they showed it to me, I turned to them last night. I said, this must be a Boule newspaper. Sure enough. I don't fare well with them. They know me, even if you don't. Melvin Miller, attorney, 78 Harold Street. The Honorable Rudolph F. Pierce, 24 Elmhurst Road, Newton. He must be a judge. Of course, Dr. Alvin Poussaint.
Naming the names of those who fund and promote white
Roberts,
supremacy.
5 Michael Road, Wakefield, Mass. Mr. Joseph W. Rollins, Jr., 610 Lukin Towers, P.O. Box F285, Freeport, Grand Bahama Islands. Dr. William J. Walker, 11 Saddle Club Drive, Lexington, Mass. And Dr. Augustus White III, 20 Westerly Road, Weston, Mass. There is one more list that came out in 1993 that we have not gotten a hold to. We're in the process of getting it now. So that there's one more group of names that might come up from Boston that would help you better know. We recently broke in on the Boule meeting. The Boule recently had a meeting in this is a flyer of my Boule lecture in D.C. You can kind of see how I do it when I do it. We put the Boule logo, the Grecian Sphinx and what it meant, with a quote from African Minds United in Los Angeles. And the Boule logo for which they said it would partake of the tenets of Skull and Bones and Yale, and put them together so that the people could see it. Why was David Rockefeller at the recent Boule regional meeting held at the Pentagon City Ritz-Carlton? Yes, the Boule just met at Pentagon City at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and we busted up on their meeting. And there in the meeting was David Rockefeller sitting there, briefing them on the way of the world before they went over to the State Department for a program headed by Deputy Secretary of State. Who's Deputy Secretary of State? Who the Deputy Secretary of State? Who? Warren Christopher is the Secretary of State. You're honky. Who's the Deputy Secretary of State? I'll give you a free tape for who can think of this shit. No. Now, how many of y'all in here love Africa? Let me see your hands. How many of y'all love Africa? You will never fulfill your love for Africa unless you know the honkies that destroy Africa. Secretary of State is the keeper of the seal of the pyramid with the all-seeing eye and the phoenix. The State Department keeps the seal. Clifton Wharton, y'all. Clifton Wharton. Oh, I mentioned his name earlier. Anyway, they recently had a meeting at Pentagon City, Ritz-Carlton, right there in Arlington, Virginia, and we busted in on the meeting. It was the 10th Northeast Regional Meeting. The Boston people were there too. And I had a lecture in D.C., and I wanted to do the best I could. Does the Boule connect to the Rhodes Rothschild Secret Society? What is the significance of the Boule ritual being based on the Knights of Templar? And why was Rockefeller there, considering that he is the king and they are the knights? It was obvious he was the only white man at the meeting. There have been over time a few white people. Thou shalt not worship false idols. There are over time several white people who have been allowed to be in the Boule, one of them being a white boy named Joel Spingard, who was made an honorary member of the Boule. And we're going to talk about him. Now, just to say quickly, when we penetrated that Boule meeting that they had just held, when we penetrated that meeting, we took everything we could find. In fact, here's a little thing on Clifton Wharton when he was made Secretary of State. Clinton appoints Clifton Wharton Deputy Secretary of State. It says here, a former chairman of the Rockefeller Foundation, he spent 22 years working in foreign economic development in America, Southeast Asia, and in Latin America and Southeast Asia for the Rockefeller Family Philanthropic Interest. So here's the first black man ever to be Secretary of State, Deputy Secretary of State. He will be the first black Secretary of State. His daddy was the first black man in foreign service, Clifton Wharton Sr., and nobody even know who he is. But he come from Rockefeller. That's what you need to know. He come from Rockefeller. That's all you need to know. They all come from Rockefeller. There's nowhere else to come from. Yes, brother?
It just occurs to me that Wharton was the president or CEO of TIAA.
Right, which is where that came from. That was TIAA's magazine, which was the pension fund in New York. He ran the whole pension fund. See what I'm talking about, John Hancock? He ran the whole TIAA-CREF. He moved on to larger responsibilities. He headed the pension fund that controlled all the pension funds of the state of New York. Huh? And the United Snakes even, damn. And only Rockefeller's man could hold it. See, here they go. Here's the program for the Boule's convention. They had right here between 3 o'clock is when we saw Rockefeller meeting with them. The women of the wives of the members are called archausas. They're allowed to go to everything but the main men meeting. They have annual dinners, they have picnics, they have ceremonial things. Here, transportation provided to the State Department, the Ben Franklin Room, where the Honorable Archon Clifton Wharton Jr. will host them, headed by head of the D.C. chapter, which is not on there, but also they heard from Archon Edward Perkins, who is U.S. Ambassador to South Africa. Check. Only allowed to do that if you're a Boule. Check. Show you right. Now, they had the executive committee there. These are the names that run the Boule all over the country. Hugh Perkins is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Benjamin Majors from San Francisco. Russell from Atlanta. Matthew Carter, New York. Some of these names you may or may not recognize from different parts in and around here, but these are the national officers of the organization. The head man is the Grand Sire Archon. The head of the local chapter is Sire Archon, and all members are Archon. Okay. Now, when we went into the hotel, here's another piece out the meeting where Ron Brown, Archon Ron Brown, spoke to him. Now, you will never see them addressed in these titles other than in the meetings, secret meetings. These meetings were not open to the public, though we did walk right in the State Department, right with them when the bus landed. Our man got right in there, and they have a major investigation going on now, finding out how Hebrew Ben Yehuda snuck into the State Department, past all the security, and sat there for the Boule meeting. In fact, we so stole their stuff. This is the seating arrangement from the man who ran the hotel on how he was to set up their luncheon. We took everything we could find. I took the Boule, you know how they slide the little thing in the door of the hotel, say Sigma Pi Phi Brunch? Took that, when the garbage cans, took the seating arrangements. You don't never know. Trilateral Commission meets in the hotels. We need people in the hotels that are cleanup people. You can walk around a hotel in a green suit, nobody will stop you. You can walk in and out of everything. So don't underestimate the least of thee. All of us have a role in penetrating the enemy. Don't underestimate the garbage man, the wall washer, the window, the bathroom attendant. Don't underestimate any of them. That's the head of the Northeast region. He's a black Republican, Latrell Parker out of Virginia, Arlington, Virginia. And I told my man, I said, these Republicans always hang closely with the mafia. I look up, he owns the one street that got all of the naked bars and all that one part of Virginia, he owned the street. Very prominent, rich, wealthy black man. This is, again, the regional officers, Latrell Parker, Andrew Byers, Samuel Beard, Archie Savage. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. These are the members of the chapter, the regional directors of this region right here where we are. The head of the D.C. chapter is now head of the Joint Center for Political Studies, Eddie Williams. Eddie Williams is the head of the D.C. Boule. Eddie Williams, Joint Center, the only black think tank. Huge money from Rockefeller Foundation. The MacArthur Foundation, which is Rockefeller controlled, gave him a $300,000 unrestricted leadership grant. For 5 years, he had $300,000 unrestricted. Doesn't have to do anything to it, just to use it. And it's to give him economic security for being what he's supposed to be. That's the membership council. This is look at the committees. That's the ones I told you that interview and control who does what. Now the Boule, when we busted in on the Boule meeting, what we found out was at the Boule's next convention.
Where?
Baltimore, Maryland, right by Brother Coakley, July 8th to the 15th. I'm going to the meeting. And any of you can come too, because we're all going in. We're going in. You ain't gonna tell me when I show up with 8, 9, 2, 3,000 people at the door, ain't nobody got the power. Ain't no police, ain't nobody they can call that can stop us from going through them doors where they gonna be meeting. And we're gonna lock the doors and compel some explanation. Now, y'all can run and tell them. They know we coming. They can go get all the police they ever want to get. If they go get them, they will only draw mystery to what do they have to hide. We have them lock, stock, and coming our way. And don't think we ain't going. And if you want to go, you know my phone number on those tapes, you can call me. Provisions will be made for everyone. It should be a group coming down from here going. In fact, the guy who runs the regional Boule, Latrell, doesn't know it, but he doesn't have his program anymore because I took it. That's his handwriting. If he looks down, I'll show you all of his personal notes, who he was supposed to call. I took the program, and he don't even know it's gone. But it's just about depth penetration. And that's what I just wanted to share with you. Now, quickly, let me do this, because I want you to at least pick this up. This is something, a development, that we have to be aware of. Army Black Spy Network dates back to 1917. This story is a reprint in the Washington newspaper of a story that came out of the Memphis Commercial Appeal, which was a paper that was founded by Albert Pike in the 1800s. And this paper, which is a legitimate newspaper now, owned by the Scripps Howard News Service, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Talks about revealing that the Army set up a black spy network led by Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Von Dieman. Now, you know, that's some heavy shit. Von Dieman. In fact, America has a political program. The only way you can get American aid anywhere in the world is to carry on the America's evil program called demonocracy. Check? So you're right. It's all laying there. They didn't hide the shit. We just didn't call on it. Interestingly enough, it says here, Newton Baker was Secretary of War. He ordered Von Dieman to crank up the department's sleepy military intelligence division. This is 1917. No CIA, no FBI yet. So Army's military intelligence was the spy apparatus. Von Dieman, who you can look up in all kind of books on military intelligence history. You can find him. He's very traceable. We'll talk about him later. And there's a tape over there on the analysis of the Memphis Commercial Appeal with special guest Dick Gregory. It's a 3-tape set. I got about 3 or 4 of those left. Very important tape. I'm trying to squeeze 3-4 lectures into one quick format to breeze them enough so that you understand. Say what? What they saying? We gotta go? Now, see, you had to catch yourself, because you know I don't never like nobody delivering no message for nobody else to Brother Coakley. If we gotta go, they got to come to the door and say it. Brother Coakley don't hear nothing else now.
Larry Roxbury Community College.
So you're right.
For this lecture.
Now, listen up, quick. Baker's special assistant, Newton Baker, orders Von Dieman to set up a spy system. Baker's special assistant was Emmett Scott. Baker, who ordered Von Dieman to set up the spy system's special assistant was Emmett J. Scott. You must not forget him, his name, because he is very, very important for the discussion as we're about to have it, because of certain things that happened. Here is the Washington Post talking about the same story. Military spied on King and other blacks, paper state. Army reportedly targets Southern churches. The Army began spying on black Americans more than 75 years ago in a campaign that was centered on Southern churches and covered 3 generations of the family of the Reverend Martin Luther King, the Commercial Appeal reported Sunday. The spying sometimes involved Green Berets, began with King's maternal grandfather, who was pastor of a Baptist church in Atlanta. It was continued to include King's father and then the civil rights leader himself. It goes on to say how they watched Rap Brown, Kwame Ture, etc., etc., etc. It does not mention one of the most important parts. In fact, it says that the Green Beret were undercover at April 4th, 68 when King got shot. And you need to know that King was killed with 30-06 rifle, which was just the rifle that these guys were carrying, which it proves in the Memphis Commercial Appeal story. James Earl Ray's gun was never tested for whether it matched the bullet that went through Martin's head. And remember, go back and relook at the Fox special on the King murder, and something you will find out very glaring. You could not guarantee Martin King would come out on the balcony. Because if James Earl Ray is standing on the toilet of a flop house where everybody got to pee because they drinking, you can't stand there forever waiting for Martin to come out. And if Martin walks out the door and goes down the stairs, you can't shoot him. But Jesse comes out the room and stands downstairs and calls Martin back out to the balcony. And then Martin gets shot. But what you need to know about Martin getting shot is that when Martin was shot, he went like this and back down. He should have been like this. You remember that Kennedy shit, where Oswald was supposed to shot him, but you saw that motherfucking head go boom backwards from the front. The little fence, which is only a few feet away. If you ever go to Dallas, go to Dealey Plaza, the picket fence ain't no further than that blue pole. So you can see why they fucked that head up so strong, because they were so goddamn close. That shit way back up there in the book, that bullshit. But that ain't important. Couldn't nobody stop it. That's all that matters. Now come Martin King, fucked him up. Everybody say it came from Jesse and them all. Jesse and Martin, Jesse and Andy, go to the porch and look him and point up. But everybody that was there say the shot came from down in the bushes below. Hosea Williams and the others have never, Ralph Abernathy, have never appreciated what Jesse did after that moment. And that's a whole nother dialogue. But just file it in your head. Don't forget that, because you got to know how they got in the position that they got in. Anyway.
Sell out niggas.
Now,
oh well.
Now, when I see the word Emmett Scott, that he was in the Army spy, I go get my history of the Boule, and there's Emmett Scott, A.B., LLD, Wiley University, Wilberforce, right there on the list of the Washington, D.C. Boule, with Ernest Just and a lot of the other original founding members. In fact, Emmett Scott eventually, based on his destroying Marcus Garvey, became the Grand Sire Archon of the Boule eventually. Emmett Scott is mentioned in a book called A Taste of Power. Anybody know who wrote that book? Elaine Brown, former Black Panther, because Emmett Scott is her grandfather. And on page 50, she says he was an elitist who hated me, and my daddy hated me because I'm the product of my father and a prostitute. And they never, ever accepted me as an illegitimate child, but I still never understood why I wasn't killed when the others were. She was a Sigma Pi Phi family member, and as such, even disrespected is an untouchable. On page 50, she'll tell you about the bougie thing they played, so that's her evidence. She speaks to it. Now, you can look back up, and go back and find that how Emmett Scott got his job as Assistant to Secretary of War was that a black man named Robert Russa Moulton assisted him. He recommended Emmett Scott get the job because Emmett Scott worked at Tuskegee University, where Robert Rosa had just replaced Booker T. Washington. Check.
Check.
Robert Rosa Moulton headed the Committee of Liberia. The American Protection of the Colonial Liberian Experience was headed by Robert Rosa Moulton, of which Emmett Scott, too, was a member of that committee. That committee is important because that $5 million loan that went to the head of Liberia was to get him to do this. Write a letter that the NAACP reprinted from the president of Liberia to the effect that his country would not be used as a base from which the Garvey movement could harass other governments in Africa. $5 million in 1917 money to prop up the head of Liberia for Firestone and the others to stop Marcus Garvey from getting too strong in Liberia. And it was worth $5 million, and even then they admitted that the Americans still controlled how he spent every dollar of it. But the point was that the NAACP would pick up his letter which says, Garvey said, I'm on a beachhead in Liberia. So here's go $5 million, I'll keep him out. Now, I don't have time to even go deeper. Remember, Du Bois was the one who attacked Marcus Garvey, but you must remember Du Bois as the first black man ever to address the Council on Foreign Relations. In their annual 70-year history book, which recently came out as they cover foreign affairs, W.E.B. Du Bois was given honor as the first black man ever to speak there, which is about a relationship between the Boule and the secret society. The first black Rhodes Scholar was Elaine Locke from Howard University. Liberal Arts Department is named after him, Locke Hall. And Elaine Locke was the first black Rhodes Scholar 1908 to 1910. Boule member, the writer and creator of the concept of the diversionary project called the Harlem Renaissance. Sure, you're right. Where whites put up huge amounts of money to divert Negroes into drama, poetry, literature, dancing, and away from black to Africa, which was being led by Marcus Garvey. Julius Rosenwald teams with the Rockefeller family. The Jewish community, 1915, has Leo Frank hung, first white man ever hung on evidence from a black man. Jewish people get with the Angelos and start giving money to blacks. First time after the Jewish man got hung on the evidence of a black man. Check that. Garvey must be appreciated and respected for a man who fought the forces who built the circle, went on the circle. The native Africans once owned all the wealth of South Africa, but Cecil Rhodes and other white men robbed and exploited them. And today the diamond fields are owned by white men who have practically reduced the native Africans who once owned the lands to slavery. And by the system of forced labor compelled them to mine the diamonds and other minerals and to live on them, to mine the diamonds and other minerals and to live on reservations, herded together like cattle under conditions wholly unsuited for human beings. The British Empire today owes its present financial existence to the wealth which has been recruited from Africa. The wealth we the Negroes could have controlled 50 years ago when there was not so much interest in Africa. It is only within this period of time that Italy, France, England, Portugal, Belgium have started a wholesale colonization and exploitation of Africa. Garvey should be known as the man who fought him. It was in Brother Tony Martin's book on Pan-African, what's the exact title? Pan-African Connection. You must get it because there you will find the strength and diversity of Marcus Garvey's worldwide movement. But what you will find that Garvey's Negro world was banned in the diamond mines. Garvey was so strong in Africa that ANC grew up to be like him. You have to give him, grab the brother's books and give Brother Garvey the respect he deserves and stand up to penalize the ones who systematically went to block him. But he fought it though. Jan Smuts, who was the caretaker to the Rhodes Trust, he specifically talked about in Brother's book, Brother Exposed, how he bragged about monitoring Marcus Garvey all over Africa, spying on him. In fact, I had done this tape, and I have a couple of the videos left. White Finance, Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey. Exposed the plot to neutralize Garvey carried out by the Boule, financed by wealthy whites. Julius Rosenwald teams with Angelo Rockefeller. White Finance, Negro schools, Negro organizations, Negro leadership. The Harlem Renaissance was a fake. This was a story on Garvey in the Washington Afro-American, how one man built an empire, but the reason I show it is for this. 52 branches in Cuba, 47 Panama, 30 Trinidad, 23 Costa Rica, 15 Canada, 11 Jamaica, 8 Honduras, 8 South Africa, 7 British Guiana, 6 Colombia, 5 Dominican Republic, 5 Guatemala, 5 Nicaragua, 4 Barbados, 4 British Honduras, 4 Mexico, 3 Sierra Leone, 2 England, 2 Gold Coast, 2 Liberia, 2 Bahamas. No black organization in the history of our existence has ever been this worldwidely diverse. We have never been as strong as we were as that moment. No radio, no TV, 5 million strong. 1920, go for it. Never ever have we been that strong ever since. And Brother Martin, you've got to look at what I'm doing and figure out ways how you can strengthen my argument on this subject. I would appreciate you helping me help clarify for others to strengthen out the dialogue about those things that were related to. I'm doing the best I can. Garvey, of course, in fact, in this one they're talking about how the NAACP boys had all come in there. Remember in 1917, Garvey went to their office, stormed out when he saw whites running everything, got real mad. Here's the Memphis Commercial Appeal paragraph that you all should be aware of. Who in here is Omega Psi Phi? Anybody hear Omega? Because Ernest Just was the first winner of the Spingard Medal, and the top award in the Omegas is named after Spingard. Von de Man, who we talked about earlier, wanted proof of subversion. He hired Joel E. Spingard, the white board chairman of the NAACP, who made him a major in military intelligence division in May 1918. Spingard and black agent Lieutenant T. Montgomery Gregory ran a small unit of undercover agents according to the intelligence documents. The documents show that Spingard, who remained NAACP chairman during his tenure at MID, used his post to obtain critical information for MID, such as the list of the organization's 32,000 members. The NAACP gives an annual award named for Spingard. Jesse, Colin Powell, Coretta Scott King, these are all past winners. It all gets clearer now. But they should drop, Ben Chavis and Brother Lou Myers should drop Spingard based upon the proof that he circumvented the NAACP every day it was his chairman. So on one hand he gave it money, but on the other hand he spied on it. Somebody said, well, how did they do that? You mean to tell me you understand that America would give you housing and urban development HUD to help you build houses, but then get the FBI money to COINTELPRO stop you. So don't get confused when they do the forked tongue thing, because that's how you know them. They go with the forked tongue. All right? There's an article that I don't have time. I'm not going to go much through it, but I use it for one reason. It's talking about the parallels and divergences of assimilation strategies of Afro-American and Jewish elites, 1910 to 1930, by this guy who floats in and out of credibility. But it was a discussion about the college-trained African-Americans who teamed with the Jewish whites and became black-Jewish relations. The start of it was wealthy Jews and college-trained blacks. It was never wealthy blacks and wealthy Jews. And the reason Jews keep running it like today, it was always wealthy Jews and college-trained blacks. So when the Sappersteins say, get out the fucking march, it was because of the wealth, not the equality. There's a tape over there, Black Jewish Relations 93, several others, don't miss them. Even got on video. The whole Talented Tenth was a boule concept. Du Bois, Talented Tenth, straight boule. In that story, you can see how I write on my stuff. The deflation of Garvey's Talented Tenth was an acute credibility crisis, for they now had to prove that Garvey's extreme pessimism about the future of the race in the United States was unjustified, and that by helping to scuttle the fervent mass movement, they had not co-signed 11 million African Americans to perpetual economic and social misery. But the evidence and trends supported the Garveyite predictions that found that the proportion of Northern Americans in manufacturing had steadily declined, etc. And Elaine Locke, first Black Rhodes Scholar, knew what a close call Garveyism had represented. We have, for the moment, in spite of Mr. Garvey's hectic efforts, no Zionistic hope or intention. But what opportunity called the dog-dumb masses were urgently in need of a new opiate. For as Locke well understood, Garveyism has shown how much more ready and ripe for action than the minds of the leaders and educated few, the masses, were. So the boule hedged the bet that the white man will deliver, therefore we will not let Garvey bring the color question in the middle of us. That was Du Bois. They misread Du Bois's color comment. Everybody gives him honor about the color line. He said, don't bring the color line shit up in here. And I'm not going to let Garvey separate us from the white man with the color shit. Others think he was talking about the color line as warning the white man. That was bullshit. He was warning Garvey. And sometimes different people in different books have misstated or given Du Bois still credit for things once understanding is a secret society must be taken away. But the point of it was that they made a bet that the white man would deliver. This is 40, 50 years before Rosa Parks. They hedged the bet that the white man would deliver, so they'd kill off Marcus Garvey. They killed off Garvey and then figured out the white man had tricked them. Why Carter G. Woodson, boule founder of Washington, D.C., came back later and called it the miseducation of the Negro. Years after having been made the Negro. He came back and repudiated it. Du Bois came back and repudiated it. So you're right, we're not going to repeat it. And there's an important moment you must remember here is when this is all about the Jewish founders and just talks about how the socialist boys, Rabbi Wise of Columbia, Edwin Seligman, Moskowitz, and all them, Slightly More Rider, built-in AACP, etc., etc., etc. And it's talking about how the socialist Jewish people use different things like others. Thank you very much, Sister Let. These are my brothers and sisters from Chicago. That little girl right there, I remember was a little not needed little 9-year-old African sister that had grown tall. That brother and sister that moved here to Boston from Chicago, and Brenda Lett used to have to open up Seabrook headquarters where 3/4 of all of those tapes up there were made at. She was the sister who would have to sit there all night with her little bitty son, who was a bigger brother that walked out earlier now. You can hear him on the tapes running all around, making noise. You'll hear him, and you listen to tape. That's her son, now grown up, who looked like a teenager now, was in here earlier. But anyway, remember the moment when Carnegie, and that's not even the page, when Rosenwald teamed up with Rockefeller. And that's not even the page. But anyway, we'll get all of that to some other time. But remember that tape, White Finance, Negro Leadership versus Marcus Garvey. because again, the essence of it is that they were used to team up against the brother, to come on the brother, to block him from the things. One last thing before I stop that I just want to share quickly is just that this is the first article that ever appeared publicly on the Boule. July 18th, 1990, LA Times. Karen Grisby Gates, the same person that wrote those articles about shades of color in Emerge, and also wrote the LA Times article called Complexity of Color. Same sister is the one who wrote the Boule story. It's how we found out about the Boule. The Council on Foreign Relations lecture I was given at the Good Life health food store in LA where I met Sister Donna. And there, right in the middle, brother says, did you see this in the paper today? We looked at it. They were meeting at the downtown hotel where the NAACP was meeting at. That's when LeGrand Klieg, who was at your lecture, got condemned with Marla Gibbs, who's a solid sister, for condemning the Jewish people for running Hollywood. Ben Hooks came out and condemned them, but on one side of the page is about Marla Gibbs and LeGrand. On this side is that the Boule is meeting right next door. Interestingly enough, I thought it was an interesting coincidence that in the story it says, Boule is a Greek word designating a council of community leaders who advise kings. The reference to members of the 3,000-man worldwide fraternity is highly intentional. It says, like Yale's Skull and Bones secret society to which Bush belongs. See, that almost sounds arbitrary. Like Yale's Skull and Bones. It isn't until you get the history book that it says it was specifically set up on the tenets of Skull and Bones at Yale. That's why having the history book we had the article, that wasn't enough. We want the book. We get the book, we want the Constitution. We want the membership list. Because each time we found something, we found more into the story, etc., etc., etc. And this is part 2 to that story. Had a lot of interesting things in it. He found out that when he became one of the very few invited to join, he learned the secret handshakes and other Greek esoterica. He soon discovered that most black leaders in his community were already members. That was one member saying, this is another story appeared publicly. Black fraternal group plays big role in funding Wilder's presidential bid. A Washington Post, November 23rd, 91, mentions that Wilder went to the guardsmen who are because at the last Boule meeting, we found out that the guardsmen were also there with the Boule, so now we got to go look up everything on the guardsmen. And that these are some of these untapped exclusive middle-class clubs. And of course, the top blacks are just middle-class whites. See, Ebony did a story on Do You Think You Middle Class? And every black over 50,000 checked the box. Well, in reality, middle class is about from 200,000 to 700,000 annual income. That's middle of the billion income. But black people, you know, we got 2-3 million. So middle class for us is 50 to 75,000. And 70% of people claim they was middle class based on that economic analogy, which is not true. But anyway.
Aspirations.
Right, so you're right. And so anyway, it talked about Omega, of which Wilder is an Omega, one of the 8. He's a guardsman in a Boule, and when he went to run for president, he got his money from them. Interesting enough, here's Jet Magazine. John Johnson is a Boule. Ebony seemed like a Boule magazine when you think about it. Fade Cream, Moderates, all the play-up thing. How many years did it take him to put Minister Farrakhan in the 100 most influential? Damn near 20 years before he had Sammy Davis in there, shit like that, wouldn't put Minister Farrakhan in there. And this is talking about the Boule had just met in Kansas City.
Guess my DVD's damaged. It's skipping over the damaged area. Will it get to some more of the tape? I guess I'm gonna have to look for another DVD. It's still skipping. Another DVD that has this information. So, I guess it's not on there anymore. Let's see if we can find another tape. That was part, this one says part 1. Let's hit eject for that one. And see. That was 3 and 4. That was tape 2 of 2. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's part 1. 2 of 4. I'm not sure if I'm going to find what is necessary in these last 7 minutes. I didn't know this disc was scratched. Oh, I have this Steve Coakley interview. And, I don't see I'm coming up with that, but the whole point of the matter is, for me as Brother R.A., in sharing knowledge and information these last 7 minutes, how much do you know is, I mean, what is your reasoning? Why do you think you were born? And being born melanin dominant in these days and times of white supremacy, white supremacy I define as white genetic survival, which means black genetic annihilation. And I was dealing with Tai Chi yesterday, dealing with Master Heej Robinson, the Roxbury Tai Chi Academy, and he made reference to defining spirituality. And what I retain, I don't think I'm going to get this exactly right, but spirituality for me, or what I retained from his message, is spirituality is gathering information. Now, I as a spiritual entity, in gathering the types of information that I gather, dealing specifically being a black thinking man who was miseducated in a particular way, okay, that was the foundation. Learning the letters, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s. But life is much more important than ascertaining a Laverne or Shirley position, or being a television talk show host that regurgitates vomit. My thinking is more about, hey, let's move a little further ahead in who we are and what do we do with the time in our lives. Is it important to make dead slaveholders something? I mean, you're melanin dominant, you're black, and your ancestors worked hard. Those that came before you, they worked very difficult to create this quote-unquote economy. Slaves didn't get paid, and now you're black and you wish to work to make money. And why do you have money as a value? and then you're black and you're raised and reared to go to church, to serve an energy outside of yourself. No, 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 no. You're black. You can't, you can't worship a black God. No. You have to worship a white God. A white, male, militaristic, chauvinistic, sexist, preferential, I choose the Jewish people over all the other people. I'm that white God. That's who you need to serve. Do you ponder these thoughts? Or are you just too blinded, or your vision is so myopic and so that, no, all I wish to do is be born, breathe, learn my ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and then cap on a bottle, cap on a bottle. And I retire at 65, and I lived a full life, but you never learned who the fuck you really were. What does it mean to have a liquid fluid pineal gland? What frequency do you operate on? Can you go deeper within yourself and relax? I have 7 minutes left.